Hello, everyone. Can you imagine giving up everything, your savings, your dreams, your peace, for the family you love, only to have them turn against you in the cruelest way? For Margaret Reynolds, that moment came when her granddaughter, the child she raised as her own, tried to erase her from their lives with a betrayal so shocking it left her fighting for her freedom in a foreign country. But this isn't just a story of pain. It's a story of survival, quiet strength, and the courage to rebuild. Join me on Margaret's incredible journey from heartbreak to hope and see how the people who hurt us most can sometimes teach us how to live again. If this story touches your heart, please leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for more real-life stories that matter. They say love is selfless, but no one tells you how much it can cost. For 12 years, I gave my life to raise my granddaughter and her son, pouring everything I had into their world. I thought it was enough, until the day she tried to take it all away. My name is Margaret Reynolds. I'm 72 years old, and this is the story of how I survived betrayal, reclaimed my voice, and found a family worth fighting for. 12 years ago, I was sitting in my kitchen in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, sipping coffee from a chipped mug when the phone call came. My daughter, Diane, was gone. A car accident on a rainy highway, the kind of tragedy that feels like it belongs in someone else's life. Diane was 28, a free spirit who loved too fiercely and lived too fast. She'd struggled with addiction, chasing highs that left her daughter, Sarah, in my care more often than not. When Sarah was 9, Diane's light went out, and I became her mother, her anchor, her everything, whether she wanted me or not. Sarah was a quiet child, her eyes too old for her face. She didn't cry when I told her about Diane, just clutched my hand and stared out the car window. That silence broke me more than tears ever could. I moved her into my modest, split-level home, a place filled with memories of Diane's childhood, her old bike in the garage, her high school art projects on the walls. I enrolled Sarah in school, cooked her favorite macaroni and cheese, and paid for counseling when her teachers noticed her withdrawing. I was 60 then, living on a pension from my years as a bank teller and a small Social Security check, but I made it work. I had to. Sarah tolerated me. That's the word for it. She ate the meals I made, wore the clothes I bought, but she kept me at arm's length. In her teenage years, she'd snap, "You're not my mom." Each word a dagger. I'd smile, swallow the hurt, and keep going. I went to every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every therapy session. I tucked her in after nightmares, even when she pushed me away. That's what grandmothers do, what mothers do, when love is all they have left. When Sarah was 17, the rebellion intensified. She skipped classes, stayed out late, and dated boys who left bruises on her heart. I tried to set rules, but she'd slam doors, her voice venomous. "You can't control me." At 19, she got pregnant. The father, a drifter named Kyle, disappeared the moment she told him. I held her hand at the women's clinic, dried her tears, and promised we'd figure it out. When she chose to keep the baby, I became a mother again. This time to Ethan, born with a shock of dark hair and a cry that filled the house with life. Ethan was my light. His giggles echoed through our quiet home, chasing away the tension Sarah left in her wake. For a while, I thought motherhood might ground her. I was wrong. Sarah drifted further, unable to hold a job. Barista, cashier, daycare aide, nothing lasted. She blamed everyone but herself. Bad bosses, long hours, a sore knee. I paid the bills, dipping into my retirement savings to cover Ethan's preschool, Sarah's phone, the electric company. When she brought home strangers, men who left empty bottles in the sink or worse, I bit my tongue. I didn't want to lose her, to lose Ethan. I thought silence was the price of keeping them close. But even silence has a breaking point. One spring afternoon, I picked Ethan up from school and learned he'd pushed a classmate during recess. It wasn't the first time. The principal, a kind woman with tired eyes, suggested therapy, hinting at instability at home. My stomach sank. I knew what she meant. Sarah's late nights, her revolving door of boyfriends, the chaos Ethan absorbed like a sponge. That evening, I sat Sarah down at our worn kitchen table. "Ethan's struggling," I said gently. "He needs stability. We need a plan. Rules, structure, maybe a steady job for you." Her face twisted as if I'd accused her of theft. "You think you're better than me?" she spat. "You weren't exactly a perfect mom to Diane, were you? Look how she turned out." The words cut deep, slicing through years of guilt I'd buried. I took a breath, kept my voice steady. "This isn't about me. It's about Ethan. I'll keep helping, but things have to change." That's when she said it. "Stop giving your opinion. You don't get to tell me how to raise my son." The room went still. Her words weren't new, but their finality was. I stood slowly, my hands steady despite the storm inside. "Okay," I said. She laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. "Okay?" I nodded. "I won't say another word about Ethan's upbringing, but starting now, I'm done funding your life. Ethan's preschool tuition ends this semester. You have 3 months to get a job, find a place, and take responsibility for your son." Her jaw dropped. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious," I replied, then walked to my bedroom, closing the door softly. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's slow spin. I'd drawn a line I should have drawn years ago. I wasn't angry. I was done. There's a difference. The next morning, Sarah acted like nothing had happened. She poured coffee, scrolled on her phone, and ignored me. I waited, hoping she'd acknowledge our talk, but she didn't. Days turned into a week, then 2. No job applications, no effort. She slept until noon, left dishes piled in the sink, and spent hours talking to her new boyfriend, Ryan. I hadn't met him, but his voice on the phone was too smooth, too calculated, like a salesman pitching a bad deal. Sarah's eyes lit up when she spoke to him, and that scared me more than her defiance. Ethan grew quieter, his usual chatter replaced by sullen shrugs. I found a drawing he'd hidden under his bed, a boy standing alone in a storm, his face smudged with tears. My heart ached. I knew that loneliness, had lived it through Diane's struggles, through Sarah's rejection. At the end of the second week, I reminded Sarah, "You have 10 weeks left." She rolled her eyes. "I'm working on it. Why are you always on my case?" I didn't argue. Words were useless now. I started pulling back, not just emotionally, but financially. I canceled the automatic payment for Ethan's preschool, stopped covering Sarah's car insurance, and bought only the basics at the grocery store. The fallout was swift. "You canceled my insurance?" she yelled one morning. "How am I supposed to get around?" "I told you," I said calmly. "I'm not funding your lifestyle anymore. Use the bus or find a job." She stormed out, the front door rattling in its frame. Ryan appeared soon after, a tall man with slick hair and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He called me Miss Margaret, his handshake too firm, his charm too practiced. "Heard so much about you," he said, but his gaze was cold. Ethan shrank when Ryan was around, his shoulders hunching. One night, I overheard Ryan and Sarah arguing in the backyard, his voice low and sharp, hers shaky. She came inside, eyes red, but I didn't ask. I'd promised no opinions. and I meant it. Still, I started locking my bedroom door at night. With 3 weeks left in my deadline, Sarah's behavior shifted. She woke early, scrubbed the kitchen, made pancakes from scratch. "I've been a mess," she said one morning, her eyes soft. "I want to be better. For Ethan, for you." She even apologized for her harsh words, her voice trembling. I wanted to believe her, but doubt lingered. The next day, she sat beside me on the couch, her phone open to a travel website. "Ryan's uncle runs a small inn in Costa Rica," she said. "He offered us a free stay, just you and me, a chance to reset. No stress, just us. What do you think?" Everything in me screamed to say no, but her voice held a fragility I hadn't heard in years. I saw the little girl who'd clung to me after Diane's death, the one who'd whispered, "Don't leave me." Against my better judgment, I agreed. "A short trip," I said, "for us." She hugged me, and for a moment, I let myself hope. The days before the trip were eerily calm. Sarah helped with Ethan's homework, folded laundry, asked about my garden. Ryan stayed away, supposedly arranging the trip. At the airport, he saw us off, his hug with Sarah lingering too long, his whisper in her ear too secretive. "To me," he said, "enjoy, Miss Margaret. You deserve it." His smile chilled me. The flight was restless, my instincts buzzing. When we landed in Costa Rica, the inn wasn't what I expected. A gated compound with high walls, more clinical than cozy. The staff were overly polite, their smiles tight. They took our phones, citing security protocols. Sarah shrugged it off. "It's so we can disconnect," she said, but her eyes darted nervously. I felt a knot in my chest, but told myself I was paranoid. On the second day, they insisted I attend a wellness evaluation. In a sterile office, a woman presented a file with my name, containing my birth certificate, medical records I didn't recognize, and a form, allegedly signed by me, requesting voluntary admission for mental health treatment. My heart pounded. "This isn't mine," I said, my voice sharp. She smiled thinly. "Stress can cause memory issues." I stood to leave, but the door was locked. That night, they moved me to a smaller room with barred windows and a nurse stationed outside. Sarah didn't visit. Days blurred into a haze of sedatives, which I learned to hide under my tongue. They showed me forged documents claiming I'd had delusional episodes and memory lapses. I realized the truth. Sarah and Ryan had orchestrated this to declare me incompetent, seize my assets, my house, my savings, Diane's small inheritance, and erase me from their lives. The betrayal didn't break me. It ignited me. I played along, feigning compliance, smiling at the staff, attending their therapy sessions. In the facility's library, I found an old computer with limited internet access. Posing as a journaling exercise, I emailed my old friend Ellen Harper, a retired paralegal from Lancaster. Using coded language, references to our book club days, I hinted at my location and danger. "Missing our Tuesday chats," I wrote. "Trapped in a story I didn't write. Need a plot twist." I prayed she'd understand. Weeks passed. I lost track of time. Then one morning, 2 American consulate officials arrived, demanding to see me. Ellen had acted fast, contacting authorities and providing proof of my identity. The facility stalled, claiming I was unstable, but the consulate was relentless. They extracted me, arranging my return to the U.S. As the car pulled away, I stared at the compound's iron gates and whispered, "You thought I'd vanish. I'm not gone." Returning home wasn't the victory I'd imagined. Trauma lingers, a shadow stitched to your skin. My house was sold, my bank account drained, my car gone. all under a forged power of attorney Sarah and Ryan had filed using my stolen ID. Ellen met me at the airport, her eyes wet, but her voice firm. "We're fighting this," she said, handing me a folder of documents and a burner phone. I spent the first night in a women's shelter, needing space to process. In a cramped room with a sagging cot, I let the anger come. I cried for Diane, for Ethan, for the years I'd given to Sarah, only to be discarded like an old receipt. But I didn't stay broken. With Ellen's help, I hired a lawyer and a forensic document analyst. Within days, they confirmed the signatures were forged, the medical records fabricated. The notary was already under investigation for fraud. We filed criminal charges: fraud, elder abuse, identity theft, unlawful confinement. Sarah and Ryan didn't deny it. Ryan was arrested first, crumbling under questioning, claiming Sarah had masterminded it. His emails and texts told a different story. He'd arranged the Costa Rica facility, moved the money. Sarah was arrested outside a diner, her face blank, as if I had betrayed her. The trial was swift, the evidence overwhelming. Bank records, forged documents, voicemails Sarah had left on my old phone. She got 6 years, with parole possible after 4. Ryan got 8. Ethan had been in foster care during the ordeal, a fact that tore at me. I fought for custody, presenting photos, school records, and Ethan's drawings to the judge. "I'm not replacing his mother," I said, my voice steady. "I'm giving him a home." The judge granted me guardianship, and when Ethan ran into my arms, whispering, "I missed you, Grandma," I held him until my arms ached. We started over in a rented bungalow in a quieter part of Lancaster. Its paint chipped, but its windows bright. I furnished it with thrift store finds, clipped coupons, and learned to stretch my limited income. Ethan's laughter filled the house, but he carried scars. One night, he woke screaming, afraid Ryan was back. I held him close. "No one's coming," I promised. "We're safe." I enrolled him in a public school with a strong counseling program, meeting his teacher to ensure he'd have support. Some days, I looked in the mirror and saw failure. A mother who'd lost her daughter, a grandmother who'd raised a betrayer. But Ethan's smile, his drawings pinned to the fridge, reminded me I wasn't done. One afternoon, while sorting through a box Ellen had salvaged, I found an envelope in Diane's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Dated weeks before her death, it was written on hospital stationery, never sent. Diane confessed she'd been battling undiagnosed health issues, chronic fatigue, dizzy spells, and had hidden them to spare me worry. "I wasn't strong like you, Mom," she wrote. "Sarah's my heart, but I'm failing her. I see the distance in her eyes, and I don't know how to close it. If I don't make it, please love her, even when she pushes you away. You're the only one who can." I wept, clutching the letter. I hadn't failed Diane. She'd trusted me to carry her love forward. Sarah's betrayal wasn't my fault, but a legacy of pain Diane couldn't heal. That night, I tucked the letter away, knowing it was both a wound and a gift. Months later, a collect call came from the women's correctional facility. Sarah's voice was small, hesitant. "Grandma, I just wanted to know how Ethan's doing." I stayed silent, letting her words hang. "I think about him every day," she said. "I'm sorry. I didn't soften. You didn't just hurt me, Sarah. You tried to erase me." She whispered, "I know. I was desperate, stupid. Ryan made it sound easy, like no one would care." I laughed bitterly. "You believe that?" "No," she admitted, "but I wanted to." I told her Ethan was safe, happy, growing. She cried softly. "Can I write to him?" she asked. "I'll read it," I said. "No promises." The call ended, and I stood in the kitchen, the silence heavy, but not suffocating. Sarah's letters arrived, short, raw, about her prison life, her regrets, her hope for Ethan. I didn't respond, but I kept them in a drawer beside Diane's letter. Ethan adjusted, his drawings brighter, his laughter louder. But he asked about Sarah, his voice careful. "Is she okay?" I answered honestly. "She's trying, but it's a long road." He nodded, accepting the truth in a way only children can. A year after the trial, Sarah's caseworker called. She'd been accepted into a re-entry program, early release possible with counseling and job training. I wasn't ready to see her, but I wrote a letter, 3 pages of truth. How her betrayal had shattered me. How Diane's letter had shown me the cycle of pain we'd all inherited. How Ethan was thriving but deserved honesty. I told her I wasn't promising forgiveness, but I'd talk, if she respected my terms. Sarah's response was careful, not demanding, just grateful. We exchanged letters, slow and guarded, sharing memories, correcting misconceptions. She wrote about her prison library job, her knitting lessons, her therapy. I wrote about Ethan's soccer games, my garden, the book club I'd joined at the library. It wasn't love, but it was a start. When Sarah was released, I didn't meet her. She moved into transitional housing, working at a local cafe. Our first meeting was in a counselor's office, neutral ground. She looked older, her eyes softer. "Thank you for this," she said. I nodded. "I'm here for Ethan, not you." She didn't flinch, just nodded back. Ethan met her months later after careful preparation. He showed her a drawing, a tree with deep roots, 3 figures at its base. Him, me, and Sarah, apart but connected. "You're still part of it," he said. She cried, and I let her. Healing, I realized, comes in fragments, not floods. 2 years later, Sarah was still in her program, working full-time, attending therapy. She visited Ethan weekly, always on his terms. One summer evening, he asked to invite her for his 14th birthday. Just cake, no fuss. I agreed, setting strict boundaries. Sarah arrived with a small sketchbook, no gifts, just stories she'd written for Ethan. They talked, laughed, and for an hour, the past felt lighter. That night, I showed Sarah Diane's letter. She read it silently, tears falling. "She knew I'd fail," she whispered. "No," I said. "She knew you were hurting. She asked me to help and I did, by letting you face yourself." Sarah nodded, her hands trembling. "I'm trying, Grandma." "I see that," I said, and meant it. Ethan's school project that year was a family history. He interviewed us both, Sarah and me, weaving our stories into a tapestry of mistakes, love, and survival. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. On the porch one evening, as the sun set, Ethan showed us his final drawing, a tree with sprawling roots, our names etched in the bark. "We're still growing," he said, grinning. Sarah squeezed my hand, and I let her. I'd spent years carrying Diane's pain, Sarah's betrayal, my own guilt. But now, I carried something else. Choice. I chose to love Ethan fiercely, to let Sarah earn her place, to forgive myself for the things I couldn't fix. I chose peace, hard-won and real. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and please share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear where you're watching from and what this story meant to you. Your voice matters, and I can't wait to connect with you all.